You know how it feels to walk into a messy house? That feeling you get when the dishes are piled up, laundry's overflowing, and you can't even see the counters anymore? There's this low-grade anxiety that just sits in your chest. That's what it's like to live in an unhealed inner sanctuary. Every room is holding something you haven't dealt with, and you've been living in that house for so long, you don't even notice the mess anymore.
Welcome to The Regulated Life. I'm Erica Carter Folk, and if you're here, you're done with surface level self-help. You're ready for the real work, the nervous system healing, the pattern breaking, the transformation that actually sticks. This is episode 1, and today we're talking about what this show is, who it's for, and the inner sanctuary framework that's going to guide everything we do here together. So let me start with a question. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right? Therapy, journaling, meditation, all the things, but you still feel stuck. Like you're carrying this invisible weight that no one else can see? Maybe it's the people pleasing you can't shake, the relationship patterns you keep repeating, the burnout that creeps back no matter how many boundaries you set. Or just this quiet sense that you've never really felt safe in your own skin. If that's you, you're in the right place. Here's what most people don't realize. Healing isn't just a mind thing. It's not just something you can think your way out of. Because trauma, stress, and survival patterns live in your nervous system, in your body. And until you learn to work with your nervous system, you're going to stay stuck in the same loops. That's where the inner sanctuary framework comes in. The inner sanctuary is the metaphor I use for your internal landscape, your emotional world, your nervous system, your sense of safety. Think of it like a house, your house. And inside that house, there are different rooms, each one holding a different part of your story. You know how it feels like to walk into a messy house? That feeling you get when the dishes are piled up, laundry's overflowing, and you can't even see the counters anymore. There's this low-grade anxiety that just sits in your chest. You want to relax, but you can't because chaos is everywhere. That's what it's like to live in an unhealed inner sanctuary. Every room is holding something you haven't dealt with. Old emotions, limiting beliefs, survival patterns, boundaries you never set. Parts of yourself you've been hiding. And you've been living in that house for so long, you don't even notice the mess anymore. You've just adapted. You step over the clutter. You ignore the leaks. You pretend the basement door isn't rattling. But your nervous system, it notices. It's exhausted from living in survival mode, from constantly scanning for threats, from never feeling truly safe, even in your own inner home. So let me walk you through this house, your house, the inner sanctuary. The living room is where your relationships happen. It's where you navigate boundaries and belonging. You know that feeling when you have guests over and you're running around serving everyone, making sure everyone's comfortable, but you haven't even sat down yourself? That's what it's like when your living room is out of balance. You're so busy managing everyone else's emotions that you've abandoned your own needs in the space that's supposed to be yours. The bathroom is where emotional release happens. It's where you're supposed to let things go, grief, shame, guilt, old pain. But most of us, we've got the door locked. We're holding it all in because we're taught that crying is weak, that falling apart is failure. So the bathroom becomes this toxic holding tank instead of a place of cleansing and relief. The bedroom is where rest, intimacy, and self worth live. You know how it feels to collapse into bed exhausted, but your mind won't shut off? Or how it feels to want intimacy, but your body just feels numb? That's what happens when your bedroom has been neglected, when you've forgotten that rest isn't something you earn, it's something you deserve. When self worth has become conditional instead of foundational. The attic is where all your old stories are stored. The boxes of limiting beliefs, the inner critic's voice playing on repeat, the generational programming you inherited. Don't be too much. Stay small. Good girls don't make waves. You know that feeling when you go up into an attic and it's dusty, cluttered, and you can barely breathe? That's what it's like to live under the weight of beliefs that were never even yours to begin with. The basement is where your triggers hide. It's dark down there, chaotic. You avoid going down because you know what's waiting: the emotional overwhelm, the survival patterns, the moments when your nervous system hijacks you and you react in ways you don't even recognize. You know that feeling when something small happens and suddenly you're flooded with rage or terror or shutdown? And that's your basement. And most of us have been pretending it doesn't exist. The closet is where you keep the parts of yourself you've hidden, the secrets, the shame, the voices you've been silencing because you're afraid of what people will think. You know that feeling of wearing a mask all day, pretending to be fine, and then finally getting home and just collapsing because keeping up the performance is exhausting? That's what it's like to live with a locked closet. Those hidden parts don't go away. They just drain your energy trying to stay invisible. The office is where your purpose, identity, and voice either align or feel completely off. You know that feeling when you're doing work that doesn't light you up, but you can't figure out what else you're supposed to be doing? Or when you have something to say, but you swallow it down because you're afraid of being too much? That's what it's like when your office is out of alignment. You're living someone else's version of success instead of your own. The kitchen is where nourishment lives. Not just food, but joy, pleasure, and the things that actually fill you up. You know that feeling of going through the motions? Eating but not tasting, moving but not feeling, surviving but not thriving? That's what happens when the kitchen is empty. When you've been so depleted for so long, you've forgotten what true nourishment even feels like. The garden is where everything integrates. It's the space of wholeness, peace, presence. It's where you finally exhale and realize, I'm here. I'm safe. I'm whole. But most of us never make it to the garden because we're still stuck in the chaos of the other rooms. And here's the truth. Most of us have been living in houses we've never chose. Houses we inherited. Houses built by trauma, by survival, by old conditioning that told us we had to be small, quiet, perfect, or accommodating to be loved. The inner sanctuary framework is about going room by room, gently, intentionally, and reclaiming your house, redecorating, clearing out what no longer serves, creating space for the version of you that's been waiting to breathe. But here's the thing, you can't just think your way through this. You can't journal your way out of survival mode. You can't affirm your way into a regulated nervous system. You need a method, a practice, a way to actually move the energy, rewire the patterns, and help your body feel safe enough to change. That's where Hypno-Breath Fusion comes in. Hypno-Breath Fusion is the engine, the nervous system recalibration technology that powers transformation. It's a blend of breathwork, hypnosis, somatic integration, NLP, mindfulness, and tantric awareness, all designed to help you move out of survival mode and back into regulation. Here's how it works. Breathwork opens the body. Your breath is the fastest way to signal safety to your nervous system. We're not talking about just breathe and you'll be fine, toxic positivity. We're talking about intentional, somatic breath that shifts your physiology, that unlocks what's been held, that creates space for what's been stuck. Hypnosis rewires the subconscious. This is where we work with the part of your brain that's running on autopilot, the part that's been playing the same limiting beliefs and survival patterns on repeat. Hypnosis helps you access that subconscious layer and install new programming, new beliefs, new truths. Somatic work restores safety in the body. This is about reconnecting your body instead of overriding it, learning to listen to the signals, releasing stored tension, teaching your nervous system that it's okay to come out of protection mode. NLP reprograms your thought patterns. This is where we interrupt the mental loops, the catastrophizing, the negative self talk, the stories you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you are capable of. We don't just talk about your patterns, we interrupt them. We rewrite them. Together, we can create a full body, full mind reset where the body learns to exhale old survival patterns and the mind learns to believe new truths. So here's how it works. The inner sanctuary is the map. It shows you which room of your inner home needs attention. Hypno-Breath Fusion is the vehicle. It gives you the actual tools to heal that room through nervous system regulation, subconscious reprogramming, and embodied integration. When you move through a sanctuary room, the Hypno-Breath Fusion process is what helps you feel the change, not just think about it. The inner sanctuary helps you understand yourself. Hypno-Breath Fusion helps you recreate yourself, room by room, breath by breath. Let me tell you about a client. We'll call her Sarah. Sarah came to me after a second divorce. She was exhausted. She kept asking, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep choosing the wrong people? But here's what we uncovered. Sarah wasn't choosing the wrong people. She was choosing people who felt familiar. People who needed fixing, rescuing, managing, because that was the room she'd been living in her whole life. The living room, where she'd learned that love meant managing everyone else's emotions. As a kid, she learned that to belong, she had to make sure everyone else was comfortable. So in her relationships, she became the emotional manager, the one who smoothed things over, the one who gave and gave until there was nothing left. Her nervous system had been trained to find safety in caretaking. So, of course, she kept attracting people who needed caretaking. It wasn't bad luck. It was her nervous system trying to find the familiar, even if the familiar was exhausting. Once we started working on her inner sanctuary, specifically the living room where her boundaries lived, and the bedroom where her self worth had been withering, everything shifted. We used Hypno-Breath Fusion to help her body feel safe enough to stop rescuing. We used somatic practices to help her notice when she was abandoning herself. We rewired her belief that love equals sacrifice. And 6 months later, she told me, I didn't know I could feel this peaceful. I didn't know relationships could feel this easy. That's what happens when you stop trying to fix your life from your head and start healing your nervous system from the inside out. Okay, so here's your practice for this week. I want you to start noticing which room you're spending the most time in. Ask yourself, am I living in the living room, constantly managing everyone else's emotions and abandoning my boundaries? Am I stuck in the basement, where every little thing feels triggering and I can't catch my breath? Am I hiding in the closet, keeping parts of myself locked away because I'm afraid of being seen? Am I exhausted in the bedroom, depleted because I've forgotten that rest and self-worth aren't things I have to earn? Just notice. No judgment, just awareness. Because you can't change a pattern you're not aware of. And awareness, true embodied awareness, is the first step into your inner sanctuary. Write it down, journal on it, or just sit with it. Which room are you living in? And what would it feel like to give yourself permission to walk into a different one? Here's what I want you to know as we start this journey together. You are not broken. You are not too much or not enough. You're not failing at healing. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do, protect you. But the patterns that once kept you safe might now be keeping you stuck. And that's what we're here to shift. Every Monday, we'll go room by room through your inner sanctuary. We'll dive deep into the frameworks, the methods, and the tools rooted in Hypno-Breath Fusion that help you move from survival to safety. And Tuesday through Friday, you'll get your daily raw regulation episodes. 5 to 7 minutes of breathwork, truth, and sacred pauses to anchor you through the week. This is the regulated life. This is where nervous system science meets raw, soulful truth. And this is where you'll finally give yourself permission to come home. So here's your homework. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications so you don't miss tomorrow's raw regulation episode. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with one person who needs to hear it. I'll see you back here tomorrow for your first daily practice. Until then, keep breathing, keep rising, keep regulating, room by room, breath by breath.